This week I'm going to talk about the debut novel by Ismet Persic. He's a Bosnian American. It is called Shards. This is rather timely actually because he just won an award for this book, the Pacific Northwest Booksellers Award for Fiction. Wow, that's a mouthful. They announced the winners in 2012, so they just announced them, but the books are all published in 2011. Otherwise, they wouldn't really have a lot to choose from. So congratulations, Persic! Shards is a novel in fragments. It opens with an excerpt from Ismet's diary. He is a Bosnian refugee living in Los Angeles, so he's been told he's suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and he should write a memoir. And this will help him put his experiences into a framework and make sense out of everything that's happened. But the problem is, as soon as Ismet starts writing this memoir, he realizes that he can't tell the truth. He keeps lying about things. First, it's little things, the color of a couch, or something that someone said, but eventually it gets a lot worse, and he has invented an entire alter ego for himself who stays behind to fight in the war. Perhaps my favorite thing about this book is all of the framing. It's an old trick, the pretend editor that lends credibility to everything that follows, but it's an old trick that works. There's more than just an editor followed by a first-person narrative here. Shards is then divided up into notebooks, presumably to emulate the actual notebooks that Ismet was writing in. Some subsections are numbered, some of them are labeled with dates, and others have these sort of subtitles. One of my favorites is this one here, down at the bottom. It is How Big Are the President's Balls? Speaking Bosnian in France, and the origins of Super Mario's mustache. It is all in one chapter, but you're gonna have to read the book to figure out what that's all about. Then there's actually a literal frame inside the book, carried by Ismet's youth theater troupe. They're resting on a park bench, and they hold the frame up in front of them, and to make it look like a painting. While they're doing this, people are sort of walking by, and they're looking at them strangely and all of this. And then all of a sudden it starts shelling. I mean, they are, after all, in a war zone. But instead of running around like crazy like everyone else is and trying to hide and take cover, they just stay frozen in that frame, just standing there. And all of these layers of framing remind us how little we know, how little we understand in spite of everything. And if we can't decide what's inside the frame, is anything inside it? Is everything inside it? It sounds really complicated, but actually it could have stood even more confusion. Maybe that's because I've been simultaneously reading Ulysses, which offers nothing but asterisks to separate locations, points of view, and prose styles, but I actually think a little more confusion might help me appreciate Ismet's identity crisis. Instead, Ismet's dissociative tendencies grant us the same temporary escape it gives him, jumping from one narrative to another, one voice to another, always moving, always escaping. Fortunately, all of those different sections are pretty compelling. Ismet is creative and engaging as a hero, and I stayed totally invested until the end. So that is Shards, and thanks for watching Brave Little Books!